If the Tennessee Titans want to upset the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday, they have to be ready to beat the Blitz. That and more on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the second half of the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. It is a game plan episode, and we are going to be talking about my keys to victory, including being prepared for the Vikings blitz attack. Also, we're going to look at some players to watch in this game, and the Titans have to stop Justin Jefferson. I'll also give you some predictions as well on who I think wins this game, some fantasy, some gambling advice. Before we get into all of it, I do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. Remember, I will be going live here on the Locked On Titans podcast immediately after the game ends, breaking down all the action that we see on Sunday. But with that being said, I do want to start with my keys to victory for this game. And we have to start with the attack of the Minnesota Vikings blitz. So the Vikings blitz at the second highest rate in the NFL, and the Tennessee Titans are the worst team in the NFL at dealing with the blitz. We talked about it on Crossover Thursday with Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings. That is my number one primary concern here, because not only can the blitz completely dismantle the Titans offense, but it can turn into turnovers as well, which hurts the Titans defense. It can have a domino effect on the entire game for the Titans. So what is the first key to dealing with the Minnesota Vikings blitz? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with the blitz whatsoever. It's about running the football. The Tennessee Titans must run the football in this game, and they must run it with immense success. So you're wondering, Tyler, what does running the football have to do with a blitz on passing downs? Well, if the Minnesota Vikings are able to blitz on 3rd and longs, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 or higher, well, then your route combinations and your route concepts are going to take longer to develop. It's going to take longer for the wide receivers to get down the field to be able to pick up a first down. And it's not rocket science there. 5 yards is shorter than 10 yards. 3 yards is shorter than 8 yards. It's simple math there. So the Titans have to stay ahead of the chains in this game, because if they get in themselves in 3rd and long situations, Minnesota's going to be able to pin their ears back, and the Titans are going to be in trouble because they're going to have to wait for players to get down the field to be able to pick up those 3rd and longs. So you have to give yourself 3rd and short situations, so that a quick dump off to a running back, so that a quick hit to a tight end, so a quick slant over the middle of the field to Calvin Ridley, those sorts of a quick out route to Nick Westbrook-Akine. Those sorts of plays are actually going to be able to pick up first downs for you, because you're in 3rd and short, 3rd and manageable situations. If the Titans aren't able to run the football against the Minnesota Vikings and they're not able to stay ahead of the chains, they are going to be in a world of hurt when they get to 3rd down. So the only way that the Titans are going to be able to win this game, the only way that the Titans are going to be able to stay out of danger, quite honestly, is if they're able to run the football with success. And of course, breaking off some big runs against this defense, not relying so much on the passing game, that would be absolutely critical for the Titans as well. But when they do get into those situations where they play against the blitz, they're going to have to be ready for it. And what does that look like? It looks like chipping from the running backs and the tight ends. That is what the Titans are going to have to do. There is no way that with the Titans' 5 offensive linemen, they're going to be able to completely stymie the blitz attack of the Minnesota Vikings. They are going to rely heavily on the running backs and the tight ends to chip, to stay in, to help the offensive line. That is going to be absolutely critical. And what happens after they do that? They need to leak out for checkdowns. Again, both of these points go together. Okay, you run the ball so you're in 3rd and short. And then your plan for the blitz has to be to keep a running back and a tight end in to help deal with extra rushers. And then those running backs and those tight ends can chip and then release out into the field. You get a couple of quick check downs from Will Levis, and you're able to make a man miss and then pick up 3 or 4 yards. That has to be the plan for the Tennessee Titans, because here's the reality. 3-man route concepts, which the Titans are going to have a ton of in this game, probably not going to be open. All right? Probably not going to be open. And if you put 5 guys out into the route immediately, you're probably going to get pressured. Okay? So not only do the Titans need to chip and keep helping for the Minnesota Vikings blitz attack, but Will Levis has to be ready to take the checkdowns. It's kind of crazy to me. This is like a shock test for Will Levis. Last week, the Titans give up 7 sacks, and a lot of it has to do with how long Will Levis is holding the football. But now, against the Vikings, he cannot hold the football as long as he did last week, or it's going to be more of the same. It's like an immediate, hey, you didn't do this very well. Your very first game that comes after that last week is going to test you even more in that area. Like, it's going to test you even more. It's like if you're a student who takes an aptitude test and you struggled in your math section, and then the very next day you have a pop quiz in math class. It's like the exact thing that you struggled with last week. You are going to be tested in a major way this week. So the Titans have to help Will Levis and help the offensive line with tight ends and running backs staying in. Those tight ends and running backs have to be able to make people miss when they get those checkdowns from Will Levis. And Levis has to have that internal timer in his head and make sure that he gets the ball out quick enough so that he's not sacked a million times. So that has to be the plan against the blitz. And then finally, the third key to victory for me, you got to dominate the turnover battle. So Minnesota is susceptible here. This is somewhere where the Titans really can win this game. And how do you upset a team? Truly, how do you upset a team when you're the lesser team? You do it with turnovers. That's what you need. That's the great equalizer in the NFL is turnovers. And you look at the Minnesota Vikings, look at their games this season. 2 turnovers, 2 turnovers, none. 3 turnovers, 2 turnovers, bye week, 1 turnover, no turnovers. Last 2 weeks, 3 turnovers, 3 turnovers. They have had 6 turnovers in 3 weeks. But here's the thing. On defense, they have forced 5 turnovers. Look at their defense. 2 turnovers, 2 turnovers, 2 turnovers, 4 turnovers, 3 turnovers, 1 turnover, 1 turnover, 2 turnovers, 3 turnovers. They have forced a turnover in every single game this year. And a lot of that has to do with the pressure that they bring. Okay? So if the Titans want to win this game and upset a much better Minnesota Vikings team, they have to get the Vikings to create turnovers, which they have done at a high rate the last 2 weeks. And then they have to protect the ball themselves. And that is all about getting the ball out of your hands quick. Because if Will Levis holds the ball and takes sacks, he's going to fumble. No doubt about it. So run the football to set up third and manageable. Have a great plan for the blitz, which we discussed, and dominate the turnover battle. If the Titans win the turnover battle, it can't just be 1-0. They have to dominate the turnover battle. 2-0, 3-0. That's what the Titans have to do if they want to win this game. But let's zoom in and talk about some players to watch on today's game plan edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. FanDuel.com/LockedOnNFL. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the second half of the NFL season with a big deal on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, like the Titans are going to punt this next drive, you can go on FanDuel, check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same exact page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And let's be honest, Minnesota Vikings money line, probably a good first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's continue today's game plan edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about my keys to victory in this game. Now I want to zoom in a little bit and talk about the players to watch in this game. I'll give you my score prediction, some fantasy and gambling advice at the end of the show as well, so make sure that you stay locked in for that. But before I do, thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, after all. But my first player to watch in this game, and it's going to remain this way, quite honestly, for the rest of the season, it's William Donovan Levis. So look, last week, Levis took sacks, held on to the ball too long, couple inaccurate throws. But for the most part, it was his best game of the season. Again, he is going to be immediately tested in the same area where he struggled last week, and that's holding on to the ball. He has to go through his progressions quicker. He has to make decisions quicker. And quite honestly, in this game, the reason I'm putting Will Levis as my #1 player to watch, he's got to use his legs. Will Levis has to be incredibly mobile in this game. That has to be the key for Will Levis, is to use your legs. So the Vikings are going to blitz. And when they do, they're going to get out of position. They're going to be flying upfield aggressively. And when they do that, Will Levis has to take advantage by climbing the pocket and running. You can't wait for a third hitch. I talked about it in my film breakdown of Will Levis on the Tic Tac Titans YouTube channel. I talked about it with Luke Braun yesterday on Crossover Thursday, my Everydayers Remember. You don't have a third hitch up in this league. It doesn't work that way, especially not with this offensive line. You're not going to have that. So you need to hitch one, hitch two, and then decide. Are you going to dump it down to your check down? Are you going to take the ball and run? Levis needs to use his legs, and I think that the Titans need to use his legs on designed runs more often as well. Last week, we saw a quarterback lead. Last week, we saw a quarterback sweep. The Titans need to do more of that in this game. Catch Minnesota off guard. Use Will Levis's legs more often than you have in previous seasons or previous games this season. Like, his legs have to be a huge factor, not only in the run game, but in defeating the Minnesota Vikings blitz packages. Like, he's going to have to run the football. Yes, he's got to get the ball out of his hands quick. Yes, he has to have a good internal clock as to when he has to make those decisions. Yes, he has to go through his progressions faster. All of that is true. But run, Will. Just run. Run and get down. That's what you're going to have to do at this stage. If he's not going to go through his progressions as quick, if the Vikings are going to bring that pressure, then you have to utilize the legs. And Levis is mobile enough to do it. He's not a statue in the pocket. He's not a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. He has mobility here, and he's got to use it in this game. I would take the over on Will Levis rushing yards in this one. If not, then the Titans are going to get absolutely mollywopped in this game. But looking past Will Levis, I hinted at it in the first segment. But the running backs and the tight ends for the Titans have to break tackles. Tajay Spears, Chigakonkwo, Tony Pollard, Josh Wiley, These guys have to be able to make the first man miss when they get a dump down. The Titans, again, need to be in 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3. The blitz comes. You dump it out to a running back. You dump it out to a tight end. They make a man miss, and they get upfield. We know that Tajay Spears is incredibly capable of doing this. I think Tajay Spears has to be the primary 3rd down back for the Titans in this game, and that would be a great way to rest Tony Pollard as well. But Tajay Spears is so good at making people miss in space. They have to utilize him on some of these plays. Also at tight end, Chigakonkwo, we know, has the speed to do it, but I have been impressed by Josh Wiley's ability to make a man miss. Now, I go back to what was the play against the Buffalo Bills, I think it was, where he got chopped down at the knees on 3rd and 1 and couldn't pick up the first down. That was disappointing. But then I also think about a play against the Detroit Lions where Josh Wiley got a dump down. He stiff-armed a defender and then gained 11 yards. Josh Wiley and Chigakonkwo are both capable of making a man miss and getting upfield. If it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, the Titans running backs and tight ends not only have to make a man miss and pick up first downs, but they're going to be asked to stay in and help against the blitz as well. So picking up men in the blitz, releasing out as a check down, making a guy miss, and getting upfield will be absolutely critical in this game. The running backs and the tight ends have to be intimately involved in the game plan, and they have to have their best game of the season. And finally, we'll go to defense. I haven't talked a ton about the defense in this game other than saying they need to win the turnover battle. But if I tell you what's the number one biggest problem from the Minnesota Vikings offense, what are you going to tell me? Justin Jefferson. 2nd in the NFL in receiving yards. Justin Jefferson is, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL, he's top 3, no question about it. Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson. Those are the 3 best wide receivers in the entire NFL. You got to have a good plan. And with that, in my opinion, comes the play of Jarvis Brownlee Jr., the Titans rookie cornerback. He has a massive matchup ahead of him here. He's the Titans' top cornerback right now with Darrell Baker being on the other side. If I am the Titans, here's what I'm doing. I am using Jarvis Brownlee Jr., press man on Justin Jefferson. I'm having him play inside technique, so on the inside shoulder of Justin Jefferson, so that he can't release and get inside over the middle, slants, drag routes, crossers. Those are the things that the Vikings like to do with Justin Jefferson. He doesn't run. I mean, it's not like he's not capable, but we don't consistently see Justin Jefferson destroying people with vertical routes down the sideline. That's not where the Vikings like to primarily use him. They want to get him over the middle of the field. So I'm going to play inside leverage with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and have him press the crap out of Justin Jefferson. He's going to win off the line of scrimmage. He's one of the best in the NFL, but make it as difficult as possible. And then I am going to use Mike Brown over the top towards the outside. So if Jefferson does beat Jarvis Brownlee down the sideline, Mike Brown is there waiting. If Jarvis Brownlee does somehow get beat on the inside, Mike Brown's there waiting, basically double teaming Justin Jefferson, but within the concept of a zone defense. That's what I would be doing. I would run cover 2 to the Justin Jefferson side with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. again, inside technique with the ability to bail back if Jefferson goes vertical down the sideline. I would have a hook defender on the inside waiting. And then on the other side of the field, I have 4 defenders. A linebacker, Roger McCreary, Darrell Baker, and then Amani Hooker, and you guys take everything else on the other side of the field. That's what I would do to take away Justin Jefferson. But a huge game ahead for the rookie, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. But with that being said, it's time for my predictions in this game. Before we get into it, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Hillsdale College. History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in school? Probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning in history, of the Constitution, the great American story, a land of hope, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Titans fans, let's cap off today's game plan preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We looked at my keys to victory. We looked at my players to watch in this game. Now it's time for some predictions. And as I always do, I'm going to start with my game and score prediction in this one. And look, I gave you guys what I think is a good plan to beat Minnesota. That has to be the plan. You have to run the ball. You have to have a good plan for their blitz. You have to dominate the turnover battle. You have to stop Justin Jefferson. Will Levis has to play well. The tight ends and running backs have to play well. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. has to play well against Justin Jefferson. Of course, you got to help him. It can't be one-on-one. That would be a disaster. But that's what they have to do. The question is, can they do it? Can they execute? Now, before I give you my score prediction in this one, do want to thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. You get your Titans news here with me every day in under 30 minutes. Get your NFL news with me every day in under 30 minutes with Locked On NFL. I'm the lead host of that show, and I would appreciate your guys' support over there. But I have this game 27-10, Minnesota. Look, what I think the Titans can do versus what I think will happen is just a different story. I don't think that Will Levis is going to handle the pressure well. I also will say the Titans did play against the Vikings in the preseason in joint practice last year in Levis's rookie year. Maybe he's got a little bit more familiarity with what they want to do in their blitz pressures than you would otherwise, seeing them blind. But at the end of the day, this is just such a tough matchup for the Titans. Just so tough. I mean, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. Like, they have so many weapons on offense. The pressure that Brian Flores is going to get. And Luke Braun talked about it yesterday in our crossover episode. But, like, put whoever you want on J.C. Latham and let Latham beat him. But Jonathan Grenard on Leroy Watson, do the Vikings even need to blitz when you have that sort of matchup? And then when they do, what's going to happen? Like, I just don't have any confidence that Will Levis is going to be able to handle the pressure that he's about to receive from the Minnesota Vikings. The Titans aren't well equipped enough to handle it at right tackle. They don't have the wide receiver outside of Calvin Ridley. Who's going to get open quickly? You know, we all love NWI for his reliability, and certainly he deserves his credit, but he's not a good separator. He's not a speed player. He's not a great route runner. Like, who's going to get open quick enough for Will Levis to get the ball out of his hands if they just pay a ton of attention to Calvin Ridley? Who? I just don't see it. And this Titans defense, look, they're good, but I think that the Vikings are going to force a bunch of turnovers on the Titans offense. And this Titans defense is just not going to be able to hold up, just like they haven't all year. So, again, I think there is a way that the Titans could win this game. There's an avenue, and we've talked about how they would have to do it, but it's just too much to accomplish, in my opinion. I think Minnesota rolls in this one, 27-10. Now, that brings us to keeping it plus 100 for some gambling advice. And, of course, with whatever. I have it's the Vikings minus 5.5. For those watching on YouTube, don't be confused. It should say Vikings. Vikings minus 5.5. I'm hammering that. We think the Titans are going to keep this within 5.5. Like, I don't feel confident in the over-under because with the turnovers, the Vikings could just really put a lot of points up. And the Titans have been playing better, so they could get to, 17 points. They could hit that extra touchdown in there. And it could be like 27-17, and now we're over the 40 points. Like, that could absolutely happen. So I'm not going to hit the over-under in this one, but Vikings minus 5.5. We don't, like, how could you pass up on that? That's a great bet. That's a great bet. Even with the Titans being at home. Like, I don't understand that line. I don't understand how it's not a touchdown. It should be 7.5, 8.5, in my opinion. So, hate to do it, but you got to take Vikings minus 5.5 if you're looking to bet this game. Like, there's no way. And if you think the Titans are going to pull an upset, then take the Titans money line anyway. What's the point of taking the points? It's 5.5. That's not a good number. So, yeah, got to go with the Vikings in this one. My beautiful dark twisted fantasy player of the week, I'm going with Tajay Spears in this one. I've talked about why throughout the episode, but I think Spears is going to get a ton of opportunities on dump downs, on screens, and he's just going to get a lot of catches for a good amount of yards. I think Tajay Spears could get 4 or 5 catches for 40, 50 yards. And if he hits a big one because they catch the Vikings in the right blitz, he could really get a big time catch. I got to go with Tajay Spears as my fantasy player of the week. I will say this. If you have the Vikings defense, run it. Like, you're in a great spot this week with that. So with that being said, though, that is going to do it for today's game plan episode. Went over my keys to victory, my players to watch, some of my predictions for this game. Let me know what you think the score of this game is going to be. That's going to do it for me today, though, folks. Thumbs up on the video. Tighten up down in the chat. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.